After being a loner for the first year, Batman was finally joined by Robin in his war against crime. This was not a simple or strange idea. The main market of the 1940s comic book industry were children, reason why Batman became immediately popular thanks to Robin. This of course meant a change for the Dark Knight as well. No longer could Batman be the Dark Avenger of the Night, and instead, he became like a good uncle or a father figure. But not everything was terrible. The second year of Batman's history is truly important for introducing some of the best known comic book characters in history. Starting with Detective Comics number 40, we're introduced to the classic Batman villain, Clayface. Basil Karlo is a retired actor who starts killing the cast members on the remake of one of his own classic movies, The Terror. Karlo kills them wearing a mask made of clay, which is why he is called Clayface. The follow-up to this issue marks a turning point in Batman's history. The character proved popular enough that DC gave him his own title, which is historical for more than just that. Batman number 1 is one of the most important comic books in history, not only because it is Batman's first comic book, but also because on this issue we are introduced for the first time to the Joker and Catwoman. Back in the Golden Age, comics were usually 60 pages long average, and every comic book used to have 4 different stories in one single issue. The first story in Batman number 1 is precisely the Joker story. Joker is introduced as a homicidal maniac who kills people using his trademark Joker venom. Most notable is that from his very first appearance, Joker tries to kill Robin, foreshadowing something that eventually happened many years later. By the end of the story, Joker is captured and sent to prison, but we all know Joker does not want to stay locked anywhere, and of course he breaks free. But that happens on the last story of this issue. Meanwhile, Hugo Strange makes his return in the second story, as he escapes from prison and starts experimenting on the inmates of an insane asylum, turning them into giants. In the story, Strange injects Batman with a monster serum, similar to what happens in Batman Arkham Asylum, where Batman is injected with a Titan toxin. And just like in that story, Batman finds an antidote before he turns into a monster. Having stopped Strange, Batman goes out to the city and starts killing all the monster men who were wreaking havoc by using the Batplane and the machine gun incorporated in the plane. The absence of Robin in this story and Batman's violent methods are not a coincidence. Remember from the first year, this was the story that was advertised in Detective Comics number 37, but was rescheduled to appear in Batman number 1. This story was already created prior to Robin's appearance, and that's why Batman was still so dark and grim. This story is also important because it is the first appearance of the Batplane. The third story features the introduction of Catwoman to the Batman mythos as an infamous cat burglar. The story takes place on a ship, and Catwoman appears when Batman returns some stolen jewels to an old lady. When a fire alarm is activated, the old lady starts running away with the jewels. Batman, who doesn't find surprising that an old woman can run so fast, notices that there's something wrong, only when he spots the lady's legs and says, "There goes Miss Pegs, nice legs for an old woman." As the thief tries to escape, she is tackled down by Robin, and Batman is sure that they have captured the infamous cat burglar. Batman removes the disguise of an old woman, revealing a beautiful young lady. The cat offers Batman to join her as a criminal, but Batman refuses and takes her on a boat to the mainland. During the trip, the cat jumps off the boat and Batman accidentally bumps into Robin, allowing the cat to escape. After their failure, Batman keeps thinking of the lovely lady and he wishes they would meet again soon. What's fascinating about this story is that from the very beginning, Batman and Catwoman have this ongoing tension between them, and they are clearly attracted to each other. Other than that, the cat is not exactly the Catwoman we all know. Yet. The fourth and final story of Batman number 1 is the second part of the first Joker story. Here, Joker escapes from prison and starts killing people, again. During the final fight, Joker tries to stab Batman with a knife, but instead, he stabs himself in the chest. In what appears to be his dying moments, Joker just laughs as a deranged person and passes out on the street. This was supposed to be the end of the Joker, but the editor at the time, Whitney Ellsworth, considered it wasn't good to have all the important villains die, and he asked Bob Kane and Bill Finger to keep the Joker alive. This is why the last couple of panels of the story were changed, so that the police would arrive, and after a quick examination, the forensic doctor would realize that Joker is not dead, and he is going to recover. In a twist of irony, the unusual ending of the Joker story would become a tradition, as almost every time, Joker cheats death and manages to survive one way or another. Moving forward, we have Detective Comics number 41, where Batman and Robin contact each other using radios incorporated on their utility belts for the first time. In Batman number 2, we have the second Joker story after he's recovered from his lethal wound. This is the first time that a Batman story features two villains, as Catwoman is also present in the story. Also, and once again, Joker tries to kill Robin, but this time he's stopped by Catwoman until Batman arrives. In the final fight, Joker is left behind in a burning castle, but we all know that somehow he's going to be fine. There are also a couple of examples of how Robin became extremely important just for the sake of the kids. In the first story, despite the fact that Robin was just a young boy, he was apparently allowed to drive Batman's car, and in the second story, Batman is wounded with a bullet, and he goes to his secret laboratory where Dick Grayson removes the bullet from his shoulder. I guess they were very happy about it. In the third story, Batman confronts a mysterious murderer with a clubfoot, and in the fourth story, Batman meets an old man who has found a real human giant. These last two stories show a trend that started in the early 40s of writing stories that are very fantasy-driven. Around this time, DC published a special comic called New York World's Fair Comics, with several stories from the most popular characters, including Batman. The importance of this issue is that the cover image is the first appearance of Batman and Superman together. In Detective Comics 43, the first statue built in honor of Batman and Robin is revealed. Ironically, it was placed in a city that the heroes were just visiting, instead of Gotham or New York as it was back then. On the first story of Batman number 3, a villain who can mind control people turns Batman into a criminal, and for the first time, Batman and Robin fight each other. Batman was being mind controlled, and Robin tried to stop him, but failed. After Batman slaps Robin in the face, Robin does the impossible and knocks Batman's lights out with a power blow. But most notable than that, this story introduces for the first time an underground tunnel beneath Wayne Manor that connects the house to an abandoned barn, where Batman keeps the Batplane hidden. This tunnel is for sure the first concept behind the now famous Batcave. The fourth story features Catwoman once again. In the story, Catwoman and Batman share their first kiss. However, this kiss was only a trick to get away before Batman could capture her as well. Or was it? Catwoman also wears her Golden Age cat mask for the first time, and it looks really dumb. In the end, Batman allows Catwoman to escape while he keeps muttering something about romance in a dreamy way. Meanwhile, Catwoman drives away wishing that Batman was riding along with her. This was also the first time Robin gets his own personal vehicle, but it was never used again. Next is Detective Comics number 45, where Joker has created a vinyl record capable of killing with his Joker gas whenever it was played. In the next issue, Hugo Strange is back and he has created a fear dust. Strange's ultimate plan is to poison the water supply and also spray his fear dust on the air. During the last fight, Hugo Strange falls from the edge of a cliff to his apparent death, and this would be Hugo Strange's last appearance during the Golden Age. The story is also interesting because for the first time, a fear-inducing chemical is used for criminal activities. Also notable is that the main plot has been used a couple of times in other Batman stories, like in the movie Batman Begins and the graphic novel Batman, The Man Who Laughs. In both stories, a criminal has poisoned the water supply with some sort of chemical. In Batman Begins is fear gas, and in The Man Who Laughs is the Joker venom. Next we have Batman number 4, which is very important for a number of reasons. This issue features Gotham City's first official appearance. Gotham City is finally named for the first time in the newspaper, the Gotham Gazette. In the second story, Batman comes up with his golden rule where he states that he never kills with any weapons of any kind. It's not a coincidence either that this was a lesson to Robin, making it obvious that the editors, writers, and artists had become self-aware of their impact on young kids. Fun fact, here the Batplane was also used as a Batboat. The fourth story is the first time that a criminal deduces Batman's secret identity, and he was just a simple gangster. However, he was fooled by a Bruce Wayne dummy and Batman appearing at the same time. The next issue, Detective Comics 48, is notable for being the first time that Batman's car is called the Batmobile. However, the car was the same plain convertible as before, and even red. Detective Comics number 49 features the return of Clayface, but this would also be the last appearance of Clayface during the Golden Age. In the story, Julie Madison, Bruce's romantic partner, becomes a famous actress and ends her engagement with Bruce. Also, and for the first time ever, the Robin costume is worn by a woman. In order to avoid Clayface's revenge, Julie Madison was disguised as the Boy Wonder. The first story in Batman number 5 features the Joker. This story is the real defining moment for the Batmobile, because now it actually looks like the vehicle we all know. Unfortunately, the Joker destroys the car on this same story. This is also the first appearance of a Batboat. It isn't officially named, but it's the first time that Batman uses his speedboat. And on the third story, things get real, because for the first time, Robin is beaten nearly to death. When Batman finds Robin, he picks up the body and he is filled with grief and vengeance. After this, Batman, filled with rage, brutally beats the criminals. His desire for revenge was so powerful that he resisted 3 bullet shots, carried the criminals to the police department, and returned to the doctor who operated him and took the bullets out of his body. Golden Age Batman was tough. Then, on the fourth story, Batman is reunited with his dear old friend Linda Page, and since Bruce was now a single man, he and Linda started dating, making her the second love interest of Bruce Wayne. What's funny though is that both Linda and Julie would like to date Batman instead of Bruce. Coming close to the end of the year, Batman and Robin had become extremely popular and they were included on this large anthology series called World's Best Comics. Starting with issue number 1 alongside Superman, Satara, and many others. Batman and Robin had their own story in this comic, which was later renamed as World's Finest Comics. And finally, we end the year with Detective Comics number 50, where we get to see one of Robin's most pointless and cheesy gadgets, the rocket roller skates. And that was the second year. We all can tell Batman was picking up steam, thanks to Joker, Catwoman, Clayface, the Batmobile, the Batman comic, and World's Finest Comics. The Dark Knight was one of the most popular characters in comics. And things only get better on the third year, when the whole gang is joined by the Penguin and the Scarecrow, not to mention the Bat Signal.